We've seen some mergers and acquisitions. There was a big one announced today between Crestwood and Energy Transfer on the midstream side. Chesapeake just had a sale of their Eagleford assets. In the Northeast specifically, we don't see the due diligence and the amounts that you do in Texas or possibly Oklahoma. So I can't really speak to that as what Brent was mentioning earlier. Um, and the renewable side, we have a number of conferences coming up. I think we hit 1 year of the Reduction Inflation Act. Um,
Yep.
Actually, on LinkedIn today, saw a couple of our clients getting a big influx of capital for future projects, especially when we're working with down in Texas. So it's interesting in seeing what's going on that side of the industry. And I think that's going to continue to grow for us. Um, but yeah, like Brent said earlier, I'm looking forward to a good finish of this year, and hopefully as we roll into election year and see how everything unfolds. Just trying to make it through those rocky waves and get out on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as far as what we've got going, what we're seeing, in the southern U.S., we're starting to see a lot of that transactional work, a lot of the due diligence, and it's just indicative of the more mature plays, right? A lot more players, a lot more opportunity for people to consolidate. We're doing a pretty good size one, but we're really doing a lot of those mid-sized projects right now, on the diligence front, and those really fired up over the last 30 days. Um, Pretty typical, seems to be starting a little bit earlier, but really usually September, October, November are when it really hits for us. And so, been good. As mentioned, we would keep a lot of our folks working, get them back on these due diligence jobs. Now we just got to hope and pray that they fall in line so we can keep everybody going. Um, but yeah, start to see, to Steve's point, the renewables work is very busy here as well. Kind of this in the ERCOT market. We fired up 3 new acquisitions projects over the last 2 weeks, just in Texas alone, for solar acquisition, battery storage, things like that. We've staffed some people with some wind projects as well up in the Panhandle. So that's been encouraging. Natalie and her team have been very busy on that front, particularly in the battery storage space in the southern U.S. Um, with some of the announced staffing is coming back. Some of those capital projects are starting to go more clean up, and really that always spins off with mergers and acquisitions. Companies merge; they got to get their systems right and everything consolidated and entered into the system consistently. So we're encouraged by some of that. Some of the got a nice pipeline job that we're kicking off here soon as well. So that's always fun, something new and different for the guys. And as far as East Texas goes, getting a little bit of East Texas work too, a little bit of South Texas kind of traditional, leasing and prospecting kind of exploration, fringy work that we start to see when oil prices start to get up a little bit higher, and as the gas projects, the proven areas start to expand, we'll start to see some of that, and that's just a sign of confidence. So, like Steve, we're pretty encouraged for the back half of the year, and I think we'll keep going, and we'll see what next year brings with an election cycle coming in. That's always throws a little uncertainty end of the year, but yeah, all in all, looking along pretty good. We're either busy being busy or busy trying to be.
Yeah. Kind of talking mid-con. Mid-con's more the same, and really when people say mid-con, they mean Oklahoma, basically. You know,
Making it
um,
sound so glamorous.
yeah. Some more of the same. Lots of drilling activity, but most of it's infill. Seeing some due diligence work finally. I mean, the A&D, the deals just haven't been on the market this year all that much, and now we're starting to see that pick up. I think you're going to see it pick up even more next month. Starting to hear a lot of people start to put packages out there for sale, which hasn't been this hasn't been a big year for that yet. So we should start seeing some due diligence in the mid-con. We are. The Rockies area, seems to be picking up. Looks like people are looking in Wyoming and North Dakota a little harder. I think a little bit of that has to do with these mature plays. They've drilled it, and now they're wanting to go back to the hard stuff, that they skipped over because it was going to be difficult. So they're circling back, looking at those areas, maybe willing to spend a little bit more money on those things to get the title and the acquisitions done. From a renewable standpoint, been pretty steady. SPP, Southwest, and Northwest have all been pretty steady. And you get a project. We're doing bids every week, on renewables projects, and some of them come through, some of them don't. But ultimately, since for the last really 2 years, renewables has been pretty steady. You're going to see them, I think, focus a little bit more on some things. Hopefully, you see them develop all their projects. I mean, I don't know how many they actually get developed that we work on, but it's not a very high percentage. Maybe you'll start seeing them actually developing more.
I'd probably say 30%, which I don't think a lot of people really realize that. How few of these jobs, these renewables projects actually get to construction. Maybe, and that's what we're striving to do always, right? Is increase that efficiency. I have good reps when it comes to that. But yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, but I just heard that number, and I've really been thinking about that a lot. It's like, shit, man, not many of these things really make it.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and you get we just picked up a client in the lower mid Atlantic that was trying to do all of this in house, and they finally realized that it just doesn't work. You need a partner who's going to be able to handle the boots on the ground. That doesn't work with some person sitting in New York City trying to contact a landowner in Tennessee. So I'm hoping that shift is going to continue in our direction of, us being a viable partner for these groups and not just a staffing company.
Yeah. I mean, you got to look at history. I mean, there's a reason why. I mean, oil and gas has been around since, Steve, this year, 1855, right?
Well, it depends on which state up here you ask. But the first producing oil well, I believe, was 1859.
59, yeah.
Drake's well, yeah.
Yep, Drake's well, which you can still go see, and you can buy a mason jar of oil and take it home, which is pretty interesting.
It's a cool little museum.
Yeah, but, they've been outsourcing this work for well over a century, well over a century and a half. And there's a reason for that. And that's because it works. And I think renewables companies, like you said, are starting to kind of grasp that and understand it. And they will as time goes on. And they're doing a lot of it, but there are some that aren't. And while it might work on a small scale, it's not going to work over time. Yep. Yeah. I mean, as you develop these projects, it's going to be better to outsource it. As we used to say, in the old company that we used to own, ARI, do what you do best. We'll handle the rest. That's really what it is. You need to be focused on your project and developing it. Let us focus on, organizing it, acquiring it, and understanding who owns what in your areas. But I mean, ultimately, we expect the renewables stuff to keep strong for the next couple of years. As Brent alluded to, though, we've got an election year. Things tend to change in our business. It tends to slow down. People are taking less risk because they don't know what's on the horizon. So, hoping that doesn't happen. We'll see. This might be different. We'll see. I don't know. Nobody can tell.